Hello, it's Craig Howard. Happy to be with you again today. Beautiful day here in West Virginia. I hope you're enjoying a beautiful day wherever you're at. I watched a documentary on the crew of the Enola Gay, the people surrounding the dropping of the first atomic bomb. And it was a really sobering thing. Something like 80,000 people were killed in the first blast when it was dropped on Hiroshima. The events leading up to that, and that's, I don't want to say that lightly, that was a terrible, terrible, terrible event that happened in the history of our world. Maybe those saved millions of lives in the long run. But the events leading up to that surrounded, at the time, some of the highest secrecy that our nation had ever been involved in. Even the men who flew on the Enola Gay, with the exception of the captain of the plane, didn't know what they were going to be doing until they were in the air. They didn't know about the atomic bomb. It was developed in tremendous secrecy. It was tested in secrecy. There was so much secrecy around it. The man in charge of the project wasn't even allowed to discuss it with his wife or his closest friends. He had to carry the burden of that project to the point that it almost destroyed everything around him, his home life and everything else. It was an incredibly secretive situation, and since then there have been many other very secretive situations in our nation, in the history of our nation, and still are, I'm sure. We are a people that kind of embrace secrecy. We sometimes have a hard time trusting, and for good reason. Trust has been abused over the years many different ways. But we think sometimes, because we get involved in keeping secrets from one another, we sometimes think that we can keep secrets from God. That if we don't talk to Him about it, or if we don't let anybody else know what's going on or what we're involved in, that somehow God won't pay any attention, that somehow God won't know. But the Bible tells us over in Psalm chapter 139, beginning in verse 2, David said, "You know my sitting down and my rising up. You understand my thoughts," not just what I've done. You understand my thoughts. You understand what I'm thinking afar off. "You comprehend my path and my lying down. You are acquainted with all my ways." Not just some of my ways, not just some of the things I'm doing. You're acquainted with everything that's going on in my life. "For there is not a word on my tongue, but behold, O Lord, you know it altogether." God, you know what I'm going to say even before I say it. You know what I'm going to do before I'm going to do it. That's what David is saying as he writes this passage. And you know, sometimes we forget that about God. We forget the fact that He's omniscient. That means all-knowing. Now, either as you hear that, that's very comforting to you, or it's very disturbing to you. Either there's some things in your life that you would rather God didn't know about, and that's kind of disturbing to you because you realize that even right now He knows what you're thinking and what you're doing. Or it's very comforting to you because even though you kind of have trouble maybe explaining or making Him understand what's going on, you don't have to worry about whether or not God understands. God understands you. He understands you maybe better than you do, certainly better than anybody else does, and He knows what you're going through. He understands your circumstances. He understands your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions. He understands you. He knows you. He knows you better than anybody else knows you. So today, as you're going through this day, are you trying to hide something from God? Or are you embracing the fact that God knows everything there is to know about you, and you feel comfortable in going to Him and having a conversation with Him about what's going on in your life? Well, I hope the latter is true of you. I hope the second is true of you. God understands you. He knows you. He understands your struggles. He understands your feelings. He even understands the things that drive you sometimes to do things you shouldn't. Even though He doesn't approve of those things, He understands the things that are going on inside you that take you there, and He can help you overcome that. Well, I hope you'll think about that as you go through this day, and I hope that you just have a wonderful day today, and I hope you can embrace the fact that God's with you everywhere you are, and He knows what's going on in your life. There's no secrets kept from Him, so why not just embrace your time with Him and completely pour your heart out to Him, and just let Him know what you're feeling, what's going on. You say, why should I do that if He already knows? Because He wants to have that conversation with you. He wants to have that relationship with you. He wants you to feel open to Him. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day. God bless you. I guess I'll see you Monday. I'm leaving. I'll be gone next week to annual conference, but I'll try to pre-record some devotionals that I can put up while I'm there, and maybe I'll even record one or two from annual conference in North Carolina. You have a great day. God bless.